You hold my world in your hands. Nothing is impossible for you. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible for you. You hold my world in your hands. Nothing
all you need this morning?
Amen.
He's our healer.
Amen.
Oh, he's everything we need.
That's it.
Let's just lift him up one more time. Lord, I just praise you. Lord, I thank you. Lord, I thank you for being there when we need you.
Thank you, Lord Jesus.
Lord,
Thank you, Lord.
covering us with
Praise you,
your
Jesus.
mercy and grace.
Thank you,
Lord, for your healing that extends out to us in our time of need.
Good to come, Lord. Yes, Lord.
Lord, I just praise you.
Thank you, Lord.
I praise you. Hallelujah. Jesus. Jesus' name. Thank you, Jesus.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Thank you, Jesus. He's our healer. Everything we need in our time of trouble. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. Randy, would you help Jeremy for just a second and pull up the Bible for me? I forgot to get it ready this morning. Yeah. James chapter 4, verses 1 through 10. I'm going to go ahead and read them off while they're pulling them up. And then as we go back through them, we'll have them ready. Verse 1. What is causing the quarrels and fights among you? Don't they come from the evil desires that war within you? You want what you don't have, so you scheme and kill to get it. You're jealous of what others have, but you can't get it, so you fight and wage war to take it away from them. Yet you don't have what you want because you don't ask God for it. And even when you ask, you don't get it because your motives are all wrong. You want only what will give you pleasure. You adulterers, don't you realize that friendship with the world makes you an enemy of God? I say it again. If you want to be a friend of the world, you make yourself an enemy of God. What do you think the scriptures mean when they say that the Spirit of God is placed within us is filled with envy? But he gives us even more grace to stand against such evil desires. The scriptures say, God opposes the proud, but favors the humble. So humble yourselves before God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you.
Amen.
Come close to God, and God will come close to you. Wash your hands, you sinners. Purify your hearts, for your loyalty is divided between God and the world. Let there be tears for what you have done. Let there be sorrow and deep grief. Let there be sadness instead of laughter, and gloom instead of joy. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up in honor. Lord, we just come to you this morning. Lord, we ask you to speak to us through your word. We ask you to just speak into our hearts and speak into our minds. Let our ears hear your word. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Now today, it's kind of one of those lessons that some people like to skip over a little bit. Again, James has been hard on us, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He points out all of our faults. Things that we don't really want to know about at times. Chapter 3, we talked about wisdom. We talked about letting his wisdom guide us. In chapter 4, he's going to get in more to some practical examples of this wisdom. we look at the first part of the verse 1, you can go back to verse 1 for me. What is causing the quarrels and fights among you? Now, surely we don't have any quarrels and fights, right? We don't ever see that, right? No, well, maybe a couple a day. What causes quarrel and fights among you? Now, I looked up these words, and you don't need that, do you? In some versions, it calls it conflicts and disputes. If we look at this first term, we look in the Greek, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce these words, but for conflicts, it refers to a battle with weapons or an armed conflict. That's a little more what we were thinking about, wasn't it? Hack, have you had any of those battles?
No, sir.
But if we look at the next word for disputes, it refers to fighting without weapons as personal conflicts. So this is both fighting with weapons and both hand to hand, verbal, whatever we want to say. And he's trying to get our attention here. He wants us to know that there is a war and that we're in it. We don't even know that we're in it at times. We think everything's going just hunky-dory until somebody steps on our toes a little bit, and then we want to lash back out. But we don't even know who our opponent is most of the time. If we look back, it says they come from evil desires at war within you. Most of our conflicts are not because of anything that's really happening out there that's bad, but it's things that's happening inside us. Let's look at this a little bit. Okay, let's just think between a husband and a wife. Guys, we don't ever have fights with our wives, do we?
No.
We don't ever disagree with them, right?
Yeah.
They're always right.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Most of the time when we get in an argument, if you go back and look at it later, isn't it over some of the stupidest things?
Yeah.
And it's because we have a desire for something to be a certain way. I'll give you a little example. Something really silly and stupid. We get up in the mornings on Sunday morning, we both go into the bathroom at the same time and start getting ready for church. Well, my sink is right here and her dressing table is behind me. Well, there's a door on the left side of it. I like the door open. She likes the door closed. And half the time it ends up halfway open and halfway closed. It's neither open nor closed. But the problem with that is I'm standing here at the sink and that door's half open behind me, and if I turn, I hit the door. So we have different desires, right? I desire, open or closed, either one would be okay, but halfway open, oh, that can cause a headache. Because I can turn around and smack the thing. But if you look, I'm pretty sure that's why she does it. She's watching in the mirror to see if I hit myself in the head on that door. But I didn't. I reached back and said it today, and I didn't say anything. I was good. Today I was good. today I was good. Now the day that I did hit my head on the door, I wasn't so good. But that's just an example of our inner desires that cause conflicts. You've got one wanting the door open, one wanting the door shut. It ends up halfway open, and somebody smacks their head, and then there's an argument, right? Everyday life. Everyday life. If we would learn to realize that it's not that big a deal before the conflict, it wouldn't be anything, would it? Just like this morning when I reached back there and I felt that door. I could see it in the mirror. I felt that door and I just went ahead and shut it. We need to do that in everything that we do. Because Satan is looking. He's looking for a way to get you. He's looking for a way to trip you up. He's looking for a way to get you frustrated. Let's go back and look at verse 2 now. You want what you don't have, so you scheme and kill to get it. That seems a little bit overboard, does it not? What are some things that we want? I mean, I'd love to have a new truck. Heck, I'd love to have a new engine. You can give me yours and have it work. But I would love, there's a lot of things that I would like to have. And sometimes jealousy and envy of other people getting what I want might stir something up inside me. Most of us try not to be jealous or envious. I mean, those are big things, but when there are things out there that we really, really want, my wife starts wanting the car, you can bet she's going to have it in about 3 months because she's going to figure out a way to get it. You can tell when it's going to happen too, because she starts complaining about what she's got. Now this,
Come on.
I'm saying it about her, but if every one of you would look at this, you do the same thing. First, you start complaining about what you have, and then you start looking at what's out there that's better than what I have. I need something better. And then you do what you have to do to get it, and then what happens after you get it? It's not all what you thought it was it? And then you're right back to looking again. And it's a never-ending cycle. We do this in just about everything we do in life. How many jobs do we go through before we get that one that is just awesome? Man, I've had people come to me and tell me, oh, I've been praying for this job and I got it and it is going to be so awesome. And 2 weeks later, you can't believe how bad this job is. Oh, they make me work. Oh. And you think that's funny, but I know people that go through a half a dozen jobs a year because they're always looking for that job that's just a little bit better. A little bit better. And you know what? They never find it. Every time they get one and they're so excited, they have that letdown because they have, let's just say, standards that they're looking at, and they think that it is going to fulfill this, and it falls short. So then disappointment comes. But we have fought this war to get what we wanted. Oh man, that sounds like North Korea and China and even the United States at times. We see things and we go to war. We go to war with each other. Silly things. Silly things. And my wife was making fun of me today. I've got a few pages of notes. And so far I haven't even looked at them much. And I told her I'd have us out of here by 2 o'clock, if that's all right. There's a lot of good stuff in here. I don't want to forget it, so I'm going to look through some of it. All right. If we look at let's look at the rest of verse 2. You're jealous of what others have and you can't get it, so you fight and wage war to take it away from them. And yet you don't have what you want because you don't ask God for it. How many times do we see something we want, and the first thing that starts happening is we start trying to figure out how we're going to get what we want? You know, I can tell when my wife is wanting that car, because she'll go home and get on the internet, on car gurus, and start looking for cars. And she'll start looking up specs, and she'll start looking up reviews, and I'm, oh no, we're fixing to buy another car. She's getting better. She used to want them a couple of times a year, but now it's down to about once a year. Yeah. I keep telling her the next one's mine, and her and Regina went to Tulsa a while back after a pair of white capris, and they came back with that white blazer for Regina. I told them I get the next capris, and I don't want white. Okay.
She's good at finding motorcycles too.
She is. She got me an excellent deal on mine.
Mine too.
She did, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
But that's how she does it. I know this pattern. But we start figuring it out on our own. But how often do we ask God? Sometimes this is the last step for us. When we've already got it picked out and we've already got it located and we've already test drove it and we say, okay, God, help me get it for a good price now. That's a little bit backwards. The last vehicle we had before this one, we went down on a whim and oh man, we drove 3 hours away, I think. It doesn't matter where she finds them, we're gonna get it the best deal, okay? She'll find one on the internet with the lowest price, and then we go get it. Well,